Have you ever seen a car pull up to a light and thought nothing of it, only to watch it absolutely demolish everything around it when the signal turns green? In the 1950s and 60s, some of the most dangerous machines on American roads wore elegant disguises. They weren't the cars that showed up in racing stripes on magazine covers. They were the ones nobody suspected until it was too late. Today, we're uncovering the elegant cars that hid genuinely dangerous secrets, machines that could embarrass Corvettes and Jaguars without breaking their composed exterior, cars that made performance invisible until the exact moment it mattered. Picture yourself in 1958, sitting at a drive-in with a hot-rodded Chevy. Next to you pulls up what looks like a luxury barge, something your father would drive. The light changes, and suddenly that luxury car is 3 lengths ahead before you even finish your shift to second. That was the reality of these machines. If you're into the untold stories of automotive history, the cars that rewrote rules without anyone noticing, hit the like button and subscribe. We're digging into the machines that proved elegance and danger weren't opposites. They were partners. Let's get started. 957. Chrysler 300C, the original C300, shocked people in 1955. But by 1957, Chrysler had refined the formula into something even more devastating. The 300C didn't just look elegant. It looked like it belonged at a country club, not a drag strip. Long, low, with restrained styling that could have come from a European coach builder. Nothing about its appearance suggested what was waiting under that hood. Chrysler dropped in a 392 cubic inch Hemi V8, producing 375 horsepower. Stop and consider that number for 1957. Most family sedans were making 180 horsepower. Even Corvettes were barely breaking 280. The 300C was delivering nearly 400 horses through a 3-speed automatic that frankly shouldn't have been able to handle it. But Chrysler engineered the entire drivetrain to manage forces that seemed insane for a luxury car. On the road, the 300C could hit 130 miles per hour in an era when highway speed limits were 60. It did the quarter mile in under 16 seconds, times that embarrassed dedicated sports cars. And it did all of this while looking like something a banker would drive to a golf course. The danger wasn't just the speed. It was the complete disconnect between what the car looked like and what it could actually do. Inside, you found leather seats, full instrumentation, and a level of comfort that made you forget you were sitting in what was essentially a race car with a luxury interior. The 300C was civilized until you weren't. Then it became something completely different. Chrysler only built around 2,400 of them, and today, clean examples can exceed $150,000 at auction. But the real value is in what the 300C represented. It proved that a car could be both genuinely elegant and genuinely dangerous without compromising either quality. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you see what came next. Because the next car on this list rewrote the rules from an even more unexpected angle. 51. Hudson Hornet. The Hudson Hornet looked like your grandfather's car. Rounded low, with styling that even in 1951 felt a bit conservative compared to the chrome explosions coming from Detroit. Nothing about it screamed performance. In fact, most people saw it and thought sensible family transportation. They were completely wrong. Hudson's engineers did something brilliant with the Hornet. Instead of building a traditional body-on-frame car where passengers sat up high, they created what they called step-down design. The floor sat below the frame rails between them, which dropped the entire center of gravity dramatically. The result was handling that felt like nothing else on American roads at the time. Under the hood wasn't even a V8. Hudson ran an inline-6, the 308 cubic inch H145. With the twin-H power setup, 2 single-barrel carburetors, it made around 170 horsepower. That sounds weak compared to other cars on this list. But the Hornet wasn't about peak horsepower. It was about torque delivery and weight distribution. The engine produced massive low-end torque, and that low center of gravity meant the Hornet could carry speed through corners where everyone else had to brake. Then Hudson took it to NASCAR, and something extraordinary happened. Between 1951 and 1954, the Hornet won 79 races, including 27 wins in 1952 alone. It dominated so thoroughly that other manufacturers started complaining the rules were unfair. Think about that. A luxury sedan with an inline-six was embarrassing V8-powered race cars so badly that the competition demanded rule changes. Off the track, the Hornet was perfectly comfortable. Spacious interior, smooth ride, easy to drive in traffic. You could take your family to dinner and then, on Sunday, take the same car to a race and win. That duality is what made it genuinely dangerous. Nobody expected it. The Hudson Hornet inspired the character Doc Hudson in Pixar's Cars, and that wasn't random nostalgia. It was recognition of a car that proved intelligence could beat horsepower. Today, well-restored Hornets bring between $60,000 and $120,000, but their real legacy is bigger. They showed that balance, and engineering could be far more dangerous than brute force. And the next car takes that idea and wraps it in so much luxury and visual excess that the performance becomes almost invisible. 59. Cadillac Eldorado, the 1959. Cadillac is famous for one thing, those fins. Massive rocket ship taillights that made the car look like it was ready for liftoff. Everything about the Eldorado screamed excess. It was over 18 feet long, covered in chrome, and looked like something designed for parade routes, not performance. But under that theatrical exterior, Cadillac hid serious capability. The Eldorado came with a 390 cubic inch V8 making 345 horsepower. In a car weighing nearly 3 tons, that translated into something specific: effortless power. The Eldorado didn't accelerate like a sports car. It accelerated like a freight train, building momentum in a way that felt unstoppable. On the highway, the Eldorado could cruise at 120 miles per hour with the same effort it took to drive 60. The suspension, tuned for luxury, created a floating sensation that completely disconnected you from reality. You could be doing 90 and feel like you were barely moving. That's where the danger lived. The car made speed invisible. Inside was pure theater. Power everything, leather everywhere, enough room to host a small meeting. It was designed to make you forget you were driving and just exist in comfort. And that comfort made it incredibly easy to lose track of how fast you were actually going. The Eldorado wasn't built to race. It was built to demonstrate that Cadillac could do whatever it wanted. And what it wanted was to build the most excessive luxury car in America that could still outrun most sports cars in a straight line. Today, clean 1959 Eldorados, especially convertibles, can bring over $100,000. But the real value is in what they represent, an era when luxury and performance weren't separate categories. And now I want to pause for a second. Out of the 3 cars we've covered so far, which one surprises you most? The Chrysler that dominated NASCAR, the Hudson that proved 6 cylinders could win, or the Cadillac that made speed feel like floating? Drop it in the comments, because what comes next proves that even the most understated cars could hide serious danger. Pontiac Catalina. Super Duty. Most people remember the GTO as Pontiac's performance breakthrough, but the real insiders know the truth. Before the GTO, there was the Catalina Super Duty, and it was absolutely unhinged. From the outside, the 1963 Catalina looked like a standard full-size Pontiac. Clean lines, restrained styling, nothing that suggested what was possible underneath. It was the kind of car you'd see in a suburban driveway and think nothing of. That was the entire point. Pontiac offered the Catalina with the Super Duty 421 package. This wasn't a street engine that happened to make good power. This was a purpose-built race motor that Pontiac was somehow selling to the public. With dual 4-barrel carburetors and factory blueprinting, the Super Duty 421 made around 405 horsepower. But the real violence was in the torque, 480 lb-ft that hit like a sledgehammer. Pontiac built these specifically for NHRA drag racing, and they dominated. The Super Duty Catalina could run the quarter mile in the low 12-second range completely stock, numbers that were embarrassing dedicated race cars. Professional drag racers bought them, stripped out the interiors, and went straight to the track. They were winning right out of the showroom. Here's the dangerous part. You could also order a Super Duty Catalina with a full luxury interior, automatic transmission, and drive it like a normal car. You could take your family to church on Sunday, and on Saturday, take the same car to the drag strip and run 12s. Nothing about its appearance gave that away. Pontiac only built around 100 Super Duty Catalinas before GM banned factory racing support in 1963. Today, Survivors are incredibly rare and valuable, often bringing $200,000 or more when they appear at auction. But their real significance is in what they represented. The moment when Detroit realized they could sell race cars to regular people if they just made them look normal enough. And what comes next proves that luxury brands were playing the same game, just with more leather. 64. Imperial Crown. Chrysler's Imperial brand existed in its own category. It wasn't competing with Cadillac and Lincoln by being louder or flashier. It competed by being more refined, more exclusive, more serious. The 1964 Imperial Crown looked like a car built for heads of state, not stoplight races. Everything about the Crown communicated authority. Clean, formal styling with restrained chrome. A presence that filled the road without being theatrical. The interior was as luxurious as anything American manufacturers were building, with attention to detail that felt almost European. This was a car for people who had already made it, but Chrysler gave the Imperial something unexpected. Under the hood sat a 413 cubic inch V8 making 340 horsepower. In a lighter car, that would be quick. In the Imperial, which weighed over 5,000 pounds, it translated into something different. Relentless forward momentum. The Imperial didn't feel fast. It felt inevitable. The torque delivery was so strong that the car's weight disappeared the moment you pressed deeper into the throttle. It would accelerate from 50 to 80 miles per hour with the same effort it took to accelerate from 20 to 30. Everything was so smooth, so quiet, that you could be doing 100 and feel like you were barely moving. That's where the real danger lived. The Imperial created a completely false sense of security. Everything about it suggested calm, control, measured response. And then you'd look down and realize you'd been doing 90 for the last 10 miles without noticing. Chrysler sold the Imperial as the thinking person's luxury car. What they didn't advertise was that the thinking person's luxury car could also embarrass most sports cars when the road opened up. Today, Imperials are undervalued compared to Cadillacs of the same era, but collectors who understand them know they were hiding serious capability under that formal exterior, and the next car proves that even station wagons could be genuinely dangerous, if you knew where to look. 63 Chevrolet Impala SS 409. Station wagons are supposed to be practical. Family haulers. Vehicles for groceries and soccer practice. The 1963 Impala wagon looked exactly like that, a full-size Chevy wagon with fake wood paneling and seating for 8. Nobody would look at it twice, unless it had the SS 409 package. Chevrolet offered the 409 cubic inch V8 in the Impala wagon as a factory option. With dual 4-barrel carburetors, it made 425 horsepower. Stop and think about that. A station wagon with 425 horsepower in 1963. The entire configuration was absurd. You had third-row seating and power numbers that matched Corvettes. On the street, the 409 wagon was devastating because nobody saw it coming. It looked like every other family wagon until the light turned green. Then it would pull on actual sports cars while carrying enough cargo space to move furniture. The quarter mile came up in the mid-13-second range with street tires and a full interior. The danger wasn't just the performance. It was the complete psychological disconnect. Sports car drivers would see a wagon next to them and think nothing of it. Then they'd watch it disappear ahead while they were still trying to process what happened. Chevrolet didn't build many SS 409 wagons. Most buyers who wanted performance bought coupes or convertibles. The wagon was for people who needed the space but refused to give up performance. Today, they're incredibly rare. And clean examples can bring over $100,000 because they represent something unique. Factory-built sleeper performance in the least likely package imaginable. And now, before we get to the final car on this list, I want your opinion. Which car so far feels the most deceptive? Which one do you think hid its capability the best? Drop it in the comments because what comes next takes the entire concept to the extreme. Test 66. Oldsmobile Toronado. The, Toronado was unlike anything else on American roads in 1966. Front-wheel drive in a full-size luxury coupe. Sophisticated European-style design with hidden headlights and a fastback roofline. It looked like the future. Elegant and technical and completely focused on comfort. And then Oldsmobile gave it a Ford 25 cubic inch V8 making 385 horsepower. The Toranado's front-wheel drive. Layout was revolutionary for American cars. Oldsmobile developed it to improve interior space and handling balance. What they didn't advertise heavily was that the front drive system, combined with that massive engine, created torque steer so violent it could rip the wheel out of your hands if you weren't ready. Accelerating hard in a Toronado was a genuinely dangerous experience. The car would leap forward while simultaneously trying to steer itself into the nearest curb. It required muscle and focus to keep it pointed straight under full throttle. And because most people saw it as a luxury car, they weren't prepared for what happened when they buried the throttle. The Toronado could hit 135 miles per hour, remarkable for a front-wheel drive car of that era. It ran the quarter mile in the mid-15-second range, quick for something weighing over 4,400 pounds. But the real danger was in how unexpected the performance was. Nobody looked at a Toronado and thought race car. They thought interesting luxury coupe. Then they drove one hard and realized Oldsmobile had built something genuinely wild. Inside, the Toronado maintained its luxury focus. Premium materials, excellent fit and finish, comfort-oriented everything. It was designed for long-distance cruising, which made the violent acceleration even more surprising. You'd be relaxed, enjoying the quiet cabin. And then you'd need to pass someone and discover the car had been hiding serious violence the entire time. Today, the Toronado is recognized as a significant piece of automotive history. The car that proved front-wheel drive could work in large American cars. But collectors who've actually driven them know the truth. It was one of the most genuinely dangerous, elegant cars of its era, not because it was unreliable, but because its performance was so unexpected and so difficult to manage. And that brings us to the end of this journey through an era when elegance wasn't the enemy of performance. These weren't cars that advertised their capability. They were cars that hit it, sometimes deliberately, sometimes just because nobody expected a luxury car or a wagon or a front-wheel drive coupe to be genuinely fast.